Hi, I'm a former New York State Supreme Court Justice. I'd like to tell you about a remarkable lady, one who has contributed so much to the health of the newborns. Her name, Virginia Apgar. She was born in a small town in New Jersey in 1909. Went through schools, ultimately went to Columbia Medical School, and graduated and took on the profession of anesthesiology. And she was always concerned with the newborn, and therefore she spent her early career with obstetrics in anesthesiology. And she asked herself the question, having participated in the delivery of hundreds of children in Presbyterian Hospital, she asked the question, how can we determine what the status of this newborn is that comes out of the womb of the mother? How can we establish the status that would be in keeping with good health requirements of this newborn baby? And so she came up with what is known as a score called the Apgar score, named after her. This score would take place in the following way. There were 5 categories to this score. A for Apgar. A meaning the appearance of the baby, skin, whether it was blue, whether it was pink, and it would receive a certain number from 0 to 2. Next is P, pulse, whether the baby had no pulse, whether the baby had a pulse below 100 or a pulse above 100. G, for grimace, whether or not the baby would respond to some kind of pinprick or some kind of source that would cause some kind of pain, so the baby would cry out. And we have A, P, G. A for activity. What was the activity of this newborn when it was out of the womb of the mother within a minute? Was the baby moving? Was the baby very still? And a score would be attached to that. And of course, the last one is R for respiration. You put them all together, and it's Apgar, after the last name of Dr. Virginia Apgar. Now, each of these categories has a score. The score is from 0 to 2 for each category. For example, if the baby was not a particular color, it would be a 0. If it was a good color pink, it could be a 2. And then so on with the pulse, it would receive a 0 to 2 category, a 0 to 2 count, and so on with the 5 categories. And ultimately, the maximum score that this newborn could have would be 10. Now, at the conclusion of this test, which will be done within 1 minute after the baby is delivered, if the score is between 7 and 10, it would indicate the present status of that newborn being normal. If the numbers, cumulative, was 4 to 6, it would indicate that that was a certain degree of abnormality. And if the score was 0 to 3, that would mean that the baby was in some kind of compromise. Now, this test was repeated in another 5 minutes, and the score would be taken again and compared. It would be taken again in another 5 minutes if necessary. And this, for the first time, would establish the present status, the health status of this newborn. As a matter of fact, if it was a very low, if it was a 0 to 3, then it could be the possible situation of cerebral palsy. Now, this test became universal, so much so that to this day it is used in hospitals all over the United States and in fact throughout the world. It's known as the Apgar score, named after Dr. Virginia Apgar. Now, she was so interested in the health of the newborn. As a matter of fact, She wrote more than 60 published papers in the world literature on newborns. She even went to further courses and received further degrees from Johns Hopkins in public health. As a matter of fact, she was so interested in the newborn and in children that she involved herself with the March of Dimes for 15 years, up until the time of her death. And she died in 1974 at the age of 65. But she made a great contribution to the health and the status of the newborn. That was her interest. So for you young mothers out there who have children, who have babies, and you're concerned about whether or not the baby has received certain milestones as the baby is growing older, when you see the pediatrician, you can ask, what was the Apgar score of my baby? That could give you some information that would be very helpful to you. And we owe it all to Virginia Apgar. Well, that's the story. And I'll show you how it can be used in a real live case. So until we meet again, this is the storyteller telling you to stay safe and keep out of danger.